There once was a man named Gold Roger who was king of the pirates. He had fame, power, and wealth beyond your wildest dreams. Before they hung him from the gallows, these were the final words he said.
Our perspective is yours for the taking, but you'll have to join us first. We left everything we debated at the Yonko table.
Ever since, pirates from all over the world set sail for the Grand Line, searching for the Yonko table, the table that will make their dreams come true.
Yo, everyone. That is the voice of your Yonko host, Dr. Jace Attorney. And today's topic at the Yonko table, we're going to be deep diving diversity in video games. All-encompassing diversity, whether it be people of color in the gaming industry, people of color in the games themselves, people from the LGBT community. When does a game need to be diverse? Does a game ever need to be diverse? When should it be criticized? And so forth. It's going to be an all-encompassing conversation. We're going to deep dive this well and good. But with me, as always, to help in the conversation is fellow Yonko Grandmaster Hoop. Now, Grandmaster, I do not want the next words to come out of your mouth to be, I agree, Dr. Jace. Arkham City had a diverse cast of villains from top to bottom. The Joker and Harley Quinn, and dare I say Bane. Bane was a necessary diverse inclusion in Arkham Origins.
This is stupid. Fine. I won't say anything. How about that? You took the words out of my mouth. Moving forward. You happy? This is what you wanted. Moving forward.
Did I predict your words?
Yep, you got them. You nailed it right on the head.
Go ahead. What is your brief take on diversity in games? I'll give you the floor.
I don't have much of a take. I just think when it comes to the history of gaming, you can kind of see where people's, what they want out of their gaming experience, how it shifts throughout the decades, I'd say. Because gaming has only been around for 40, 50 years almost. Coming up on 50 years.
About like the 80s or so. So some late 70s a little bit, but that's like your Pong, if you want to even consider
right.
that.
No, right. So with that said, I think you just got to look at kind of where we are at in society and look at the gaming industry and see if they are matching kind of the wants of society. And if they're not, we'll talk about why not. We'll talk about where they're going wrong if they're trying, and just everything else in between. So I think it's a layered conversation. We love layers,
like an onion.
Like an onion. Everything's like a goddamn onion. So this should be a fun one.
Indeed it should. But we are not alone in this endeavor. We have Supernovas here to join us today. And all right, let's get into it. So diversity in games. I find this topic very interesting. I feel like what really kicked off like the interest in just the topic to bring it up for the pod is a recent entry into the gaming industry from a little indie studio, Square Enix. I don't know if either of you have heard of it. I mean, I know it's a niche game.
That's way too indie for me.
Final Fantasy 16. Is that too far out there?
It really is. It's so far out there that I don't have a PS5,
Oh goodness. No, I mean, Final Fantasy 16 recently came out, rave reviews for the most part, some criticisms here and there, came out in June. But I find this topic very interesting because one of the earliest forms of criticism towards Final Fantasy 16, and this was even before the game released, this was very noticeable before the game was even close to a release date, and it was criticism it was getting a lot for its lack of diversity. As I'm sure, well, maybe I'm not sure, but for Final Fantasy 16 takes place in like a medieval time. Is it dark fantasy period? Think Game of Thrones. And for Final Fantasy 16, its cast of characters is predominantly white. Not every character is white. There's some like kingdoms in the world where there's like, people of darker skin complexions, but for the most part, your main cast of characters is white. And one of the criticisms of the game was that, hey, there's no diversity in here. What's the deal, Square Enix? What's your problem not including people of color in Final Fantasy? And to be fair, Final Fantasy has included people of color before. As in Grandmaster Hoop's background, Barrett from Final
Who you
Fantasy
call him,
VII.
Mister?
Is that your exposure? The damn remake?
Yeah, of course the remake. I didn't play the original. Are you crazy? I was playing Spyro on PlayStation 1, not Final Fantasy 7.
I thought he was too busy playing Arkham, but it's fine.
Oh, Arkham
Yeah,
in 2000, Dr. Mondo in 2000.
Like, I don't know, but maybe you had the opportunity to play Final Fantasy 7 later on, but you just started to play Arkham.
No, I've played number 7 remake circa 2020. Yes, Barrett stood out to me as a character being
He was hard to miss.
He's hard to miss. He's toting a giant arm cannon, and he's like over here. Come on, Cloud, do something with that big old sword. I don't know, something silly like
He
that.
never says that.
I don't know. I only played through it once. But yes, noticeable. Obviously, black character. Obviously not African American, because they live on Midgard. What? Midgar?
Goodness. Midgard.
Midgar.
Midgar?
Yes.
All right, Final Fantasy fans are coming for me. Yeah. I would definitely. I haven't played really any other Final Fantasy entries. However, I know this is here with Barrett. I think there's some diversity in 10, if I'm not mistaken.
There's some. Yeah,
There's some shades other than
shades. Right.
Right.
Shades. Darker shades
Right.
for sure.
There you go. Yeah, and I find it interesting that now, what is it, like a step backwards for the Final Fantasy franchise in terms of inclusivity?
Well, like, I don't think it's a step back, because they really, I think they never had a step forward to begin with.
No.
As a slight, yes, Barrett is a prominent black character in Final Fantasy, like main character, very important for the story. But if you want to, like, for me, a step forward, and like, I'm not like criticizing or anything, I'm just like calling it as it is here. Like, for me, a step forward is that you're taking the steps to improve or change something, and you continue on with that change. And then you take a step back, that it means like you committed the same mistake again. Like, really, there hasn't been, with Final Fantasy, I don't think, like, a progression towards just being more inclusive to begin with. Like, yes, they put Barrett, which is, like, yes, a black character, but okay, like, he's won in how many games? So many.
There's Saz from Final Fantasy 13, a black father with his black son.
But again,
I don't
there's
know
not like there.
But I know what
him.
you
I've
mean.
seen him.
Oh, the guy with the choke, the afro.
I looked him up.
chocobo in his
I've
afro.
seen him before. Okay.
You can kind of like go here, like pick and choose and all that, but there's not that many for you to just say, oh, it's not really a step back, because there really was never a step forward to begin with. And
Interesting.
and again, I'm not using this to bash Final Fantasy, because like, I feel that in diversity and inclusion, it's very interesting, and I think in video games, like, it should be talked about. It should be like seen. It should be, like, seen or trying to like monitor, because as an art form, it is a medium for all the public, and it's a reflection of like what's going on to a certain degree now in our society. Games have changed as our society has changed, and sometimes you can see the changes going on in the studios, in the games themselves. And sometimes they have their creative reasons for making the decisions they make, and Final Fantasy 16 is one of them. I have one theory as to why that could be why they made that decision. And
Ooh, what do you think? What do
So-
you think?
Wait. Before you give that theory, can we
Yeah.
get some backstory onto in the game? So, Dr. J, you play the game,
Yes.
You're playing the
Yes.
right? You're
Yes.
playing the game.
I'm playing the game, right?
All right. Can you just give a brief overview of what
Very
you
brief.
have seen with diversity within this Final Fantasy 16 entry?
Okay.
Because
I'm gonna-
there's some in-game reasons, right?
There's an in-game. There is my interpretation of what I think an in-game reason is as to why they chose to not include like any black characters in 16 specifically. And I think so. Very brief, right? No, and for those listening, I'm not going to spoil anything for 16. This is just very generalized synopsis for what 16 is. Like I said before, dark fantasy, medieval time period. You have different kingdoms. Think a la Game of Thrones. You know, you have your Westeros. You have your you have like your desert kingdom, and the people in the desert have like a more tanned skin complexion compared to people like in like the ice areas or the grassland areas, stuff like that. In the world of 16, you're either born just a normal person, whether that's part of the aristocrats or like a royal lineage, or you're just like a average salesperson, or just a normal person that's not noble, right? That's option one. Option B is you're born with the ability to use magic. And in this world, the people that are born to use magic are basically marked on their face, and they're used as tools and enslaved by the people that are not magic users, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, because it's like, oh, they can use magic. Why don't they fight back? Why don't they fight back against them? But either way, so you have the people that can use magic, the people that cannot use magic. The people that can use magic, they're enslaved by everyone else, and they are abused and like tortured, and you see this throughout the game of 16. It's just terrible what a lot of these characters go through that are enslaved. Square Enix did not include any from what I could tell so far in the game, they have not included any black characters in 16, and I think that was purposeful, given the context of, I don't think it would go well if they showed for example, a black character, if they're born as a magic user, being enslaved by another character who maybe the character is black as well, or maybe the character is white. It doesn't matter. They're going to be showing a black person enslaved in 16. And I think Square Enix did not want to show that. And I think they're right for not showing it. I think it was
it's kind of like they
creative
took to a certain
decision.
degree, like the way you're describing it, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's kind of like they took the lesser of two evils.
It's
Right.
it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't type of thing. And
It's-
it is the lesser, in my opinion, it's the lesser of two evils.
No, like that's really it's an interesting take. Like, and I can see it. It makes sense from even from an PR, like PR, HR, all that kind of stuff. It makes sense.
It would be a nightmare.
Yeah, like
them
it's a
to-
nightmare.
Yeah, like,
like-
and they're, they could still show like, black characters in like noble positions in the game,
Yeah.
doing other things without having to be marked by, as a magic user. But at some point in the game, there would have to
it's gonna
be
cause friction. It's gonna
Right.
it's gonna cause unwanted messages to like come out, and it's like the lesser of two evils they took. They took a gamble, and they said like, we're gonna gamble this. We're not gonna go all in here. And I think my theory behind it is like, Square Enix is a Japanese studio. Like Japanese demographics, they're not extraordinarily diverse to begin with. And like this can be seen also in anime as well. Like
You see it in anime sometimes, yeah.
you see it in anime a lot, you know, like that it's very predominantly like a white demographic. And again, it's because the way this majority of these studios, they're in Japan, and that's like the demographic that they have encountered, that they have been raised their entire life with, you know. And it's not like every place is the US that has such a diverse collection of people. Japan is not like that. So that's like my theory as to why like like the majority of Final Fantasy games aren't that diverse.
I think that plays a role, you know, because their market, first and foremost, in my opinion, is their Japanese audience. And they want to see that reflected in their audience first and foremost. And I think that's why sometimes they do participate to some degree in tokenism, where like in 7, Barrett is the only black character,
and that's why I say, like, you can't take a step back if you never took a step forward.
Right.
And I think that kind of like goes in possibly a little bit more into like, should we, you know, heavily criticize a game or art form or whatever for not being as diverse as what we think they should be. But I think that's why it's a little complicated, because you have to look at like, who are the people making it, where do they come from, like culture, the demographic they themselves were raised in. Because I can be more critical of someone. Let's say if Square Enix was an American studio, there I could be a little bit more critical and be like, hey, like, what? Like, and it's not like I'm gonna bomb them or anything. It's just like, hey, but you know, why didn't you take this extra step? You're from America. Like, you go out the street and you're gonna see people from all walks of life, all cultures, all, you know, races and ethnicities. In Japan, it's not like that. So it's like, that's where, like, I think it's important to just see, okay, where is this studio from? Who are the people that are behind this game? And from there, you can be, I don't know, like, more objective with the criticism when it comes to diversity and inclusion. And I'm not saying to ignore it completely, because it is important. Diversity and inclusion is very important when it comes to all art forms, because they're representative of what our world is now.
Right. Grandmaster, I see you scratching your head and your noggin. You want to give your 2 cents into this debate?
I'm not giving anybody the pass.
Go!
I don't care where the studio's from.
Wait, what pass?
The pass of catering to a demographic, or
no. Like, let me explain myself. I'm not saying give them the pass.
No, you're okay. No, you're okay. I'm just saying I'm not giving anyone the pass as far as, when it comes to when you got the creative team, they're creating a game and whatnot, and you choose to let the idea of race be a definitive factor to your story. And I'm gonna give a counter example. Okay, I'm gonna give a counter example. Okay, so when you let race, I guess human race, be a definitive factor to your story, I think that's very limiting to the characterizations you choose to put in your game, right?
Okay.
I think that's very limiting. I think when you do it, it's like you're gonna probably play off the same tropes when it comes to any kind of racial diversity within your world that you have created. We've seen it with Tolkien. We've seen it with like Game of Thrones even.
You mean like if it's like an all white cast?
If it's a predominantly white cast, and then the people of color are pretty much in the same roles that they play within our society, whether past, present, or whatever.
Okay.
I find that very limiting, and I find that very unoriginal. Like, it's not good. I don't think it's good. Mind you, if a game is good, a game is good, you know? Like, if you enjoy Final Fantasy 16 for the combat,
I do.
the story, and whatever else it's got going on, then yeah, you could enjoy it. I played so many games with probably white hetero cis male leads that are probably
Very.
like my favorite games of all time. So I'm not trying to knock any points on those games.
Let me
But, you
tell
know-
you, one of your favorite franchises is very problematic.
Shut the hell up.
You know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah, whatever.
Do you want to
Uh,
talk about it?
No, are you talking about Arkham?
Oh no, I was gonna say Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll get there.
We'll get there.
No, but
So
like,
I think-
I hear you out. Like,
Yeah.
what you're saying, because it's kind of, if anything, like art forms, like painting, series, movies, video games. It's like this is like the chance that you have to just go wild to a certain degree. It's like,
Exactly.
you're not, like, sure, like there's some video games and some art forms that, you know, like you have this, like if you're going like for these like realist video games that are like a historic timepiece, like there's like that's a little bit different, because like I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to like put it by like a historical time period and very specific place and time. Now, like, if you have a fantasy world, where it's like you are writing the laws of that world, you are writing
You got
everything. You
full
are God.
creative control.
You are
Yeah.
God. You are
Yeah.
God in that world, and like you created in your own image, and it's like this. You can do whatever the hell you want. You can make people blue, green, purple, yellow, and no one's gonna give a rat's ass. So, and it's kind of interesting how they keep on to the same tropes, as you're saying, that it's just like, oh, like they make race an important part of the story, but it's like not in the way you would want, or even like just want to explore. It's just the typical you put all white, and if you go to the desert, they're all black people, and it's like you go there, it's like these are like common tropes. And you know, it's fine. Like I played a ton of video games that had those tropes, and I freaking loved a ton of those video games, and they're amazing video games. They're great. They're beautiful works of art. But it's like, okay, you could do more.
Can we what's it? Can we throw out the canvas? Can we just start a whole new? Why do we keep tracing over the same shit every single time? It's a fantasy world.
No,
so let
it's
me
like,
tell you,
as Kratos would say, be better.
be better.
I
Right.
follow.
It's these game developers. They said, we want you to stay in the parameters of realism. Blacks with blacks, Asians with Asians, whites with whites. Kratos, and still I follow.
And still, I follow.
So let me tell you my counter argument. So, you know, when Dr. Jace brought this to my attention, I really had to really think of kind of games where I've seen this kind of progression as far as, you know, just kind of racial, because I guess we're on the topic of racial inclusivity right now.
Right. Diversity and but you're right. Yeah.
Like,
right now
I mean, we'll get to other topics.
Yeah,
My mind
yeah,
right
yeah.
now is currently on race.
Right.
I think the Legend of Zelda franchise has progressively
Ooh.
become a lot better at racial diversity. I'm gonna point to this girl right here. You know her?
Ooh, Twilight Princess.
Twilight Princess.
I don't remember exactly.
Telma. Her name is Telma.
And what is? Oh, she owns like one of the inns.
She owns a bar, I think, in Hyrule Castle Town.
Okay.
And she basically, that's the hub for the resistance against
Right.
Ganondorf or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, that's Queen Latifah. If they do a live action Legend of Zelda game, that's Queen Latifah. Put it in writing right now. I'm telling you, if they ever adapt Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess, you're gonna cast this girl with Queen Latifah. And so, and then I looked at her and I was like, okay, cool, because oh god, did I freeze?
No,
you're
you
good.
didn't. You're good.
Oh, it's frozen on my computer, whatever.
Oh.
Oh god, this is weird. Okay, either way, when I saw her, I was like, cool. She's a black humanoid character, like straight up kind of like black, right?
Right.
And then I even thought back though too. I thought back to the Gerudo tribe.
The
You know.
Gerudo tribe.
Now, what they said, the Gerudo tribe, as Dr. Mondo has said, it's like it's a black group or a brown skinned group of people in the desert of all things. You know, and I was like, all right, cool. But it also was cool because it's like a tribe of badass women, you know. So that part was cool too. Either way, fast forward to Tears of the Kingdom. All right. Tears of the Kingdom is probably the most diverse I've ever seen a Zelda game. Mainly because every humanoid character literally can represent any single race. Like the character designs, there are black people, there are Asian people, and again, you can like either tell by their skin, you can tell by their facial features. There's like blonde hair, blue-eyed people. There's like tan, medium brown skinned people. And it's because they threw in all these races of people, because when it comes to races in the Zelda games, you look at the actual races of species. You have humans who sometimes have problems with the Zoras who sometimes have problems with the Gorons, problems with the Ritos, which are the bird people.
Oh, the birds.
They tackled, you know, if the point of doing this the bare minimum of racial diversity in your game because you want to tackle race issues, just take those issues and make it with something other than people, you know? So now you got all these humanoid, every shade of person in Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and any kind of racial issue in the game is actually brought on between the groups of species, you know? I think that's such a better way of doing it. And I know there's other games that do it well, but that, you know, I'm currently playing that immediately came to my mind as far as how to best include, you know, more racial diversity in your minor characters, your what do you call them, your extras. And yeah, I think there's such a better way of doing it. And again, progressively, Legend of Zelda, again, they went from stereotypical, I mean, look at Link, he's white and blue-eyed and blonde.
They never change in that.
Look at Zelda.
Never.
Only one game was Zelda ever tanned. Do you know what game that was?
Oh wait, don't tell me. Tanned. A tanned.
It's a trick
Zelda.
question.
A tanned Zelda? Oh god, I swear to God. Oh, technically not Sheik, right?
Oh no, close.
Was Sheik tan? She was tan.
No, Sheik is not tan.
Oh no, she has red eyes.
It's Tetra.
Tetra, fine.
Tetra,
I guess, yeah.
yes.
But then when she turns into Zelda,
Of course, yes.
she becomes a lighter complexion.
Yes, correct.
Wow, what is that saying? What is that?
Well, that's something I wrote.
What's the subtext of that?
That is something I wrote in 11th grade about darker skinned characters typically being the villains of fiction.
The rapscallions, taking a life of piracy.
The most evil person in Legend of Zelda is darker skinned, and he's from the dark skinned clan people in the desert. So,
no. And I think that goes
God.
like it goes along a lot of like you were saying that that the darker skinned character tends to be like the villains and all that. You know, like even like a lot of people around us, you're still exposed to the all these biases that throughout your entire life, right? And
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of them are implicit biases, and you know, media has been present since way before we were born, and that media kind of was saying a message. We saw that media, we were raised with that media, and like we kind of internalized it without even noticing it. And like all these creators internalize that media, they make their media. It's kind of like similar to that other media, and like it's like a cycle. Obviously,
Yeah.
so it's like it's not a simple like so. Ideally, I would love to be like you have a blank canvas, you throw paint at it, and like whatever splashes there, right? But it's like easier said than done, and I applaud all the people that do it because it's like it's sometimes it takes a lot for you to like notice what your biases are, right? It takes because some people they didn't know, and then like you do these implicit biases tests, and you're like, holy shit, what the fuck? Like
I'm a piece of shit.
Well, I mean, you could
like,
because like some of these implicit biases, I mean, they're implicit. They're not done with intention.
Exactly, they're not done with intention. A lot of these creators are not like, oh, I really think that white people are the supreme race, and they literally make a game. No, like like that there are. I wouldn't be surprised because there's so many. But
there may be a handful.
But there are a lot that just have that for sure have these implicit biases, and they just manifest them in the media, in their art, and they don't even realize it because it's like that's what they kind of saw since it was almost ingrained to them without even knowing that it was ingrained to them.
Let me tell you, and I brought this to Grandmaster Hoop's attention before. I think a good example of that, Dr. Mondo, is the Kingdom Hearts as a franchise. I think there's a lot of implicit biases in Kingdom Hearts where there's nothing with ill intent being said about Kingdom Hearts, but when you look at who the heroes are and who the villains are in Kingdom Hearts, you start to notice a trend. The people on the side of light who are heroic, Riku, Kairi, Sora, Terra, Aqua, Roxas, all these characters predominantly white. When you go to the evil people, the people on the dark side of things that embrace the darkness, that are trying to destroy the world, why do they have a darker skin tone than the rest of the cast?
No, and again,
Xehanort,
it's
Terra
those biases.
Xehanort, and some Seeker of Darkness. And I know they're not trying to say anything with that, but it's like, wow, when you look at it like that is a tinge problematic.
No. And again, it's like this media beforehand, it kind of perpetuates this. It perpetuates it, and you're raised seeing this media, and like you're a kid, you don't even know how to wipe your ass, and unless you're gonna know that this is the way, that this is wrong, and you internalize it and you don't even know it. Granted, there are people that do it with ill intent. I'm not excusing those that do it with ill intent, and those really have to look themselves in the mirror and just like be criticized as they are. But it's a long process, kind of figuring out what your biases are and then like trying to kind of like break them. It's hard.
And I mean, sometimes when you even try to go out of your way to be diverse, sometimes it doesn't come off because the way you're trying,
because you're not culturally because there's also like the cultural competence part of it.
And I want to bring that up because Grandmaster Hoop had Barret as his background from Remake. Remake did such a service for Barret as a character for Final Fantasy VII Remake, because I can tell you right now, when Final Fantasy VII, the original
Barret is not
he's one of the he's a party member, right? But one of the criticisms I remember about 7, and I didn't even play 7 back then, and I just remember this being a critique of it, despite him being like, I think one of, if not the first predominantly black character in a Final Fantasy game, he had a lot of stereotypes associated with him. He was like the loud character in the group. He wanted to, like, he had a gun for an arm. He's the only character in Final Fantasy VII that has a freaking gun for a damn arm. And I remember that being a criticism. And, you know, people still love Barrett. People, you know, I even love Barrett back then from the media. I saw him outside of that game. But I feel like depending on the demographic that's making a game like that, because again, it's a Japanese studio, Square Enix, sometimes the message gets sent the wrong way.
Yeah.
I feel like.
And again, it's like if you don't know, like it's like me trying to create like this Asian character without knowing appropriately about Asian culture. And I'm just gonna go.
It's like you purposely just put like samurai garb on him,
exactly,
and a katana.
And it's just like, oh, I'm trying, and it comes across. Even though your intentions might be good, it's still ignorant and it's disrespectful because like you did a half-assed job, half-assed research, and you really didn't, you didn't have like people from that culture to actually come in and like and tell you, yeah, this is wrong. Don't do this.
You want to know something else? I wanted to give Square Enix the benefit of the doubt because Barrett was from like 97, 98. They did it again with Saz in 13.
Yeah.
That came out in 2010. Saz is the only party member that uses guns in your whole squad. And
why can't we get a fucking sword?
Everyone else uses a melee weapon.
Why can't a black character get a goddamn sword in one of these medieval games?
I was gonna say something, but it's kind of embarrassing.
Say it.
Speak your piece.
Just watch Samurai Negro.
Wow, deep cut.
Oh my god, the deep cut.
I don't even know if that's still uploaded.
You're gonna have to dig for it.
See, you're the problem. You see what you just did? You said pish posh. You don't need black characters having swords. You already got one. You're the problem.
Here's what's the word for that? It's
No. Like that was just joking.
Well. No, that's funny though. But yeah, you know, I mean, when did you guys first start seeing, I guess, kind of like a push towards more inclusion in video games? Because like for me personally, I want to say for the most part from like the 80s to like mid 90s, it's either you're a fluffy animal, as your main character or main characters, or you're a white person. If your sexuality is thrown in there, you're a heterosexual white person.
Yeah, like rarely. I think I'm trying to like think back when it comes to like race, like because we're talking about
and it could be it doesn't have to be like limited to race at this point as well. Like if you know like for example, I personally noticed when it comes to LGBT representation, I noticed it with like I want to say in like the 2010s, like the early 2010 era.
By the way, when did Last of Us 2 come out?
Last of Us 2 came out 2019. I think
that's how bad. So there's also, let me see, games where
Life is Strange. I don't know if you guys played Life is Strange.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey is
Odyssey? Another one.
Odyssey.
Wait, Odyssey as far as what?
No. The Assassin's Creed Odyssey game.
No. As far as like, are we talking like
race? LGBTQ?
Everything.
It's very
inclusivity in anything.
It's yeah.
I was gonna say Assassin's Creed franchise as a whole, I think actually does pretty good
job.
You
know what? Assassin's Creed is really good for diversity. I don't know why that didn't come to mind.
No, like, and
what
that's
the hell?
Yeah, because Assassin's Creed all the time they even make mention, you know, this game was made by a studio
diverse group
that is diverse, not like diverse in their ideas and like religious, all that. Like
let me ask real quick. Odyssey, can you like have different partners throughout Odyssey?
So Odyssey
sex partners,
and it makes, and like
regardless,
even, like from a historical standpoint.
It's so you can have same-sex partners.
You can have same-sex partners in Odyssey. Okay. Yeah.
Like I would say Odyssey is the most open out of all that, which I think and it fits very well because it's in Greece.
Sure. Yeah. That makes perfect
right.
sense.
And it just like you can go and be, yeah, you can form like these romantic relations with like man, woman, multiple partners. It's like very, very open. It's not restrictive at all, the game in that. And like it's pretty cool. But I would say Assassin's Creed, yeah, as a franchise, it's actually pretty diverse. The least diverse game that I'm trying to is maybe the latest one, Valhalla. And the reason behind it makes like some sense if you're going with a historical time period.
Given the
England,
region,
It's the limitations. Yeah.
right.
England, like it's like medieval England. It's not a
And
fantasy
it's tackling
world.
like a historical like period.
It's historical fiction.
Right.
Like that's where it's acceptable for you to do these kind of
Correct, because that is history.
Exactly.
Assassin's Creed is a game that tries to
historical, and I think
historical background. Yeah, they
and
try to.
even in Valhalla, like you can still, it's not as open as Odyssey, but I think you can still have like same-sex partners.
Interesting.
I think. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Because
Actually, yeah,
because
you can.
if you're
can.
like, you can play either as Eivor, like
Male
feminine
or female.
or masculine Eivor,
Yeah.
and you can have like same-sex partners. Yes. So
Look at
even
that.
Right.
Shout out to the Assassin's Creed franchise. Yeah, no, definitely. I would definitely cite Assassin's Creed. Shout out to Bayek, right? Bayek.
But what's his full name?
Bayek of I fucking don't know where he's from. I forgot.
Bayek of Siwa. Put
Siwa,
some
there
respect
it
on
is.
his name.
Shout out to Adewale.
Adewale. Okay.
Yep,
I remember
Adewale.
Adewale.
It's interesting. Okay, so I so as you said, Dr. Chase, as far as when you go back to like the 80s and 90s and all that, yes, I was like, damn, it really is. I deemed it like the mascot era, where your
the
mascot,
fluffy mascot.
well, it
Yeah.
was either a fluffy thing. I was like, okay, Crash, Spyro, Sonic,
Star Fox.
or just a random thing like Pac-Man. And then slowly they started introducing, Jumpman, Mario.
Samus.
And honestly, I couldn't think of many more predominant, like really like in your face white characters. However, a lot of them have what is called, I think, I don't know what to call it. For example, Ryu and Ken, right? Street Fighter.
Oh, what
Yeah.
are you getting at?
I don't know. They're drawn a certain way where they don't
Oh
give
my
off.
God.
They don't give off if they are Japanese.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Never mind.
It's like
I
what
get
Dr.
it.
Mondo said about anime characters. A lot of them kind of.
Actually,
they may
no,
not-
Ryu, yeah. Ryu.
I don't know.
Ken, I understand. Ken, like, means blonde
His name is
hair.
Ken.
He's Ken. It's in his name. But Ryu
like-
is Japanese.
So I don't know. There is a demographic. Yes, I think they're trying to appeal to, and where their characters are designed in ways where you can clearly see the skin tone, but you don't question per se the ethnicity or the nationality of them.
Right.
That was
There-
definitely a push.
I think there was since you're on the topic of Street Fighter, if there was ever an instance where, like, in that case they would include like a black character, it would always be a character from like a specific ethnic background. So like
Right.
for Street Fighter, I don't know the guy's name, but it's a black character. I'm pretty sure it's a black character. It's the dude with like the rings. He has like rings on his wrists and his
I
neck.
know he's African, right?
He's African. Yeah, he could stretch or whatever. And it's like, there
and
you
he
go.
has like a pole too, right?
I don't know if he has a pole. He might. I'm not sure. But I know he has just the rings. And I know he's supposed to represent like Africa. And that's the thing. In a game like that, if there was inclusion, it would be like Well, there you go, guys. There's your black representation. Everyone from America, from Europe, every other nationality is going to be predominantly white, or at least lighter in skin complexion.
And if they are from anywhere else, we're gonna make sure you know. And make sure you recognize it should be clear as day.
Exactly. I just looked at Dhalsim.
Oh, I am not a Street Fighter fan, so I can't talk.
Wow.
I'm not a Street Fighter fan as well. I just know Ryu and Ken. That's all I do.
That's all you need to know.
Okay.
I was gonna say, all right, well, okay. For me, I do this thing all the time where when it comes to TV shows, I try to think as many black characters in lead roles as I can.
He's Indian. That was
he's
bad.
Indian. We're bad. We're problematic. Canceled.
Oh my goodness. Either way, it still fits the bill. Yes, if you want an Indian representation, oh wow, of course. Here's your check mark. That's all you get.
Check your biases.
Let me ask you two, as two people of Puerto Rican background, or Hispanic, Latinx background, can y'all name predominantly Hispanic, Latinx characters in video games? Can you
Miles
name
Morales, baby, done.
Ooh,
Check mark. Check mark.
Okay, one. Can you name two?
All I need is one, baby.
I'll take Dr. Mondo, you said Miles as well?
Yeah, I said Miles.
Miles.
Okay.
That's all we need. Outside of that, yeah, really. I'm sure I can dig for something, but the problem is I have to dig. Nothing readily comes to mind where I'm like, oh, of course, this person. Beyond Across the Spider-Verse is fresh on our minds still, and we're talking about predominantly black characters in games, and it's like, oh, okay, of course, Miles, who's half Puerto Rican. But yeah, no, I can't say, your favorite, Dom.
Marcus Phoenix?
No, Dom.
Dom. Sorry. Okay. Sorry.
I don't know if you can count him.
Dom. Dom is Hispanic. Yeah.
Dom is.
Actually,
Dom is.
I did think of Gears of War when I was thinking,
yeah,
man, what black characters? I was like, Coltrane.
Coltrane.
Dominic Santiago from Gears of War.
Dominic Santiago.
There's
good
King,
diverse little cast there.
There's King from Tekken.
Oh, King from Tekken.
Is he the leopard?
Yes, the Jaguar.
I didn't know.
Wait, is he an actual Jaguar, or he wears a Jaguar skin?
Oh God, we sound like terrible fake fans.
Listen.
No, I'm not a Tekken fan. I'm not like.
He's kind of like a luchador.
He is. I thought he was an actual Jaguar.
No, he has a Jaguar.
You're kidding. You're kidding. He's a.
You thought it was a real Jaguar?
Yes.
Why would it be a real Jaguar?
Have you played those games? It looks real.
Listen, it's a mask. He doesn't bite you with it.
You mean to tell me Kuma is not an actual bear?
Let me see. Kuma. Oh, oops.
No, but that actually raises a point. It's like there are not that many prominent Hispanic video game characters.
Well, that's my thing. Is like
there's not that many.
I do think when it comes down to it, because when I looked at the black characters, many of them are stereotypes. Like the top black characters that come out are Franklin from GTA 5.
Franklin, right?
CJ from San Andreas.
Yeah. And also piggybacking on the stereotypes, it's like when it comes to Hispanic video game characters, and again, the majority are not memorable, to be honest.
Yeah, because
they always cater to the stereotype that the Hispanic is the poor guy and the poor dude or woman at the farm, or something with drugs.
Right.
Something with a drug cartel, something with that they're kind of like mafiosos.
Mm-hmm.
And it's again, they're not memorable characters. luchadors, that they're not memorable characters. The majority of them are not memorable characters. They're not well developed, and they really are just like, they are token characters that just like it's a check mark. Oh, look, the Latino character that is part of a game.
He's in there.
So-
We got him.
We got
Yeah,
so I
it's-
had to look some of this up. You have Rico Rodriguez from Just Cause,
No, yeah.
He-
Again, like there are there are Hispanic
right?
characters, but memorable Hispanic video game characters.
Yeah, like
I would say like Miles
There's-
Morales is pretty much the one that's
he's
memorable.
probably the highest up there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like-
maybe up there with like Dom Santiago.
Who
from
else did you
Gears.
find? I'm curious.
I found Sombra from Overwatch. She's like a hacker girl. There's King, Miles Morales. All of these mentioned Dominic Santiago. There's another Hispanic character from Tekken, Miguel Caballero Rojo.
Wow, Caballero Rojo. What a name.
Yes. What a name.
Tell me
And-
you're Hispanic without telling me you're Hispanic.
And see, a lot of these, I just opened like literally 3 or 4 different articles, and I find it silly that a lot of these articles are literally citing the same characters
Yeah,
for the
Yeah.
most part
like,
over and over again.
Yeah,
Like there'll
it's-
be some deviation here and there,
But they're
for the
almost all the
most
same.
part, it's the same.
And
Dom,
that, like,
this is the 5th one I've opened. It has Dominic Santiago
well,
again.
and it just tells you again like the lack of effort. I would
oh,
say.
Carmen San Diego. How dare
Wow.
How dare
Master
we?
thief.
we?
Another thief.
Wow, that's what
Hello.
you got out of it.
Again,
She's
it's
a
like,
thief.
Wow.
like also
Oh
I would
my
say
God.
like Hispanic characters, maybe like the entirety of a shit ton of Far Cry series.
Oh yeah. Michael Mando plays
Oh.
the bad guy in 3. And
Giancarlo,
Giancarlo Esposito
In-
is in
in-
4.
And the
No, in
wow,
6.
villains.
Both villains.
Giancarlo
Wow,
Esposito,
and they're both in the Breaking Bad franchises.
and
Michael
Side tangent. Who does the Far Cry 3 villain play?
Michael Mando is in Better Call Saul.
Oh, okay, never mind.
but like
Never mind.
Giancarlo Esposito is in Far Cry 6.
Oh, 6.
Oh,
sorry.
yes,
Sorry.
Far Cry 6.
Apologies.
He's a villain.
But yeah, it's like it's like the tropes again, the
Yeah.
common themes, the stereotype, the biases, and again, like I don't doubt that there are some people that don't give a crap, and there are some people that like just don't know and are not culturally competent enough to really just
Well, let's talk about a really progressive game that I only think it's trying to be progressive, but Dr. Mondo, your background, I feel that is a game where I'm like, damn, they did really well with the representation in that game. The Horizon series.
yeah.
I think the Horizon
Oh,
series
Wow.
Horizon series is actually it's fascinating because
right, yeah, it's
because it obviously it's a fantasy world that's kind of rooted in our world, but it's like
It
obviously
is.
post-apocalyptic. And
Right.
you know there are these communities that it can fall a little bit into the tropes. You know, the desert people again are the more dark-skinned in Horizon Zero Dawn, Forbidden West, but overall, like it's a little bit more. It's pretty diverse. I would say when it comes to skin color, at least.
it's diverse when it comes to
And
sexuality too.
at least with the DLC.
Well, I feel you run into side characters too in
You
in the
do.
Horizon series where it's definitely like oh yeah, my wife is over there, and you're talking
Yes,
to
you do, and
a
it's
woman.
it depends on like the tribe you go. Like it's pretty interesting, but I would say like it is pretty diverse. Obviously, it still goes with some of the tropes that are still going on.
I don't know. I feel it's
No, but-
representative of America because that's where it takes place.
No, yeah. No, again, it's like it falls a little bit into the tropes, but it doesn't abuse them.
Let me let me ask you this, because this is a criticism that I remember a couple reviewers were getting blasted for with the Horizon series, and more recently as well with Final Fantasy 16. And it's how you want the diversity to be portrayed, and how do you want it to represent real life. So like, for example, with Horizon, you mentioned it, Dr. Mondo, where it takes place in a post-apocalyptic America, world in general, but specifically for Horizon, it's in America. And diverse cast of people. You have Black, Asian characters, Hispanic characters. You have some trans characters as well, gay characters. You have everyone practically covered in some capacity in Horizon, and also with the main character being, part of the community as well from the DLC. But I remember a criticism of this game where there were some people that said they think Horizon not having any form of racial tension in a post-apocalyptic world is disingenuous to the world that we live in, to where it's almost like they're creating like
utopia,
an unrealistic fantasy that it kind of takes away from the world. And this is to either of you. Like, do you feel like you need that in a game to be diverse? Like, do you want racial tensions in
I think it's
a fantasy game at that? Like,
so I think it is. It's not so like when I go into a game, it's not like the first thing I look for, right? A lot of the times when I go into a game, honestly, it's to distract myself from work. It's to,
I want to enjoy myself.
I want to enjoy myself. I want an escape, all that. Now, I do appreciate when they go the extra mile with this stuff, with this kind of stuff, because it does add a little bit of a layer of immersement into the game. That it's like, it kind of like some of the beauty of video games is when the video game kind of blurs the lines of reality and fiction and fantasy, because like you kind of start feeling as though you are in the game, like you are part of the game. A lot of things happen there, right? But I think it's interesting that that it's like a utopia, and I don't think it's inherently bad or good what they did there. Because in a fantasy world, in a game, you are God, you do whatever the hell you want. And that they portrayed this game like this, maybe that's like the way they want the world to be. And it's a fantasy world. That sure, it is based off somewhat real world. Now, like one thing would be, I would agree more with that take. Let's say if I do a game that's like Call of Duty, or that's literally based on the real world.
If you're
like
making
you're picturing the real world, and you picture this as like, we are all living in harmony, there is no tension. Okay, that's another thing. Like this is just, you're trying to trick us here.
It's like if there's historical fiction, kind of like what you said earlier.
Fiction
if there's something with that in a game, I feel like you have to touch on it in some capacity. As an example, Assassin's Creed for the most part has fantastical elements, but if I'm playing Assassin's,
it's rooted in historical fiction. It's rooted in real.
And that's why if I'm playing a game like Assassin's Creed 3, where you're playing as a Native American, as your main character during the American Revolution War, I expect some racial tension to be brought up in the story. And it is. And it is there.
Exactly.
It is. And that, to me, adds to the world, because it's like, oh, wow, who's really the villain? Who's really the hero?
Not only that, again, it blurs the lines. Because
right.
What makes a game great is either that it's so fantastical that you get lost in it, or that it blurs the lines between, like, that there is that element of fantasy rooted in realism. So like with Horizon, it's like I see where they're getting at, but
Let me be upfront.
Horizon
I
is
completely
like- it's still
disagree
like a
with
fantasy
the
world for me.
criticism towards something like Horizon.
Yeah. But yeah.
Listen,
Look here.
Horizon does that thing I was talking about earlier. It is a diverse cast of people in Horizon. There is not much of that tension as we were talking about. The tension is rooted in the tribes.
Mhm.
It's rooted in Aloy being
An outcast.
an outcast.
Yeah.
With her, what's that guy's name? Whatever.
What,
the
the
dad,
Rust.
her dad figure.
Rost.
Rost.
Get
It's
it?
all rooted in.
Rust.
See, you again. It's that idea of, you want to tackle these issues, but they don't necessarily have to come from the idea of racial identity. It is simply she is being ostracized. She's being, discriminated, all because of who she is, not based on her skin. So it's a game that still explores themes like that. But I think it, it's more interesting to see, a world where, and maybe utopia was the wrong way to call it because they're still at war with all these different
Exactly.
people.
It's a racial utopia in the sense
racial
of no
utopia.
one's at war based
Because,
on
like based on the color of
skin
your
tone
skin
or
and-
your
Right.
sexuality or anything. And some people were saying, well, no, that's unrealistic because it would cause issues in a world like this still because
I think, and I don't want to like fall into the trap of saying like there are people that try to nitpick and look for criticism where like sometimes it's like you're kind of missing the point in general.
They're missing.
I'll say they're
But they're,
missing
like,
it.
but
I'll say they're
there-
missing
no,
it.
no,
big.
exactly. But it's like I don't want to fall into that trap. But here, it's like they're missing the point because it's like this is a fantasy game. A
There's so
fantasy
much
game-
more going on in this game.
Exactly. Like
listen,
Listen,
like
listen.
there's. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
This is okay. Imagine people playing the Kingdom Hearts franchise, and they are over here like, yo,
God.
why isn't Sora throwing slurs at any nobody? You can't talk to me, you freaking nobody. You don't have a heart. You can't talk to me. You're beneath me. You're heartless.
Hello, Woody says that to young Xehanort in Kingdom Hearts 3. You're a loser. You're a nobody. You got no friends.
Imagine though if that was something somebody wanted throughout the entire game. Like you go to freaking, I don't know, you go to Mulan and Mushu's like, damn, that's right. That's a nobody, Sora. Get his ass. Imagine something stupid like that. Like that is besides the point of the game. Like
no, yeah, it's like not every game
not every game.
Not every game should tackle racial, ethnic issues and all that. It's like, yes, diversity and inclusion is important, but the main theme of a game is according to what the creators want and it fits the story. And sure, like I think it's like a nice little layer that you can put because it brings a little bit of like real world into a fantasy game or whatever. But
I'm thinking of really stupid examples.
Yeah, but
go. What are some examples?
It's what you're saying. It's like it's not the point of the game, and it's like it doesn't fit the plot. Yes, it's like
let me tell you, if Roxas came out for Axel, and Roxas and Axel were a thing.
Well, there's their theories.
Well, okay,
there will always be theories.
And if somebody like Zigbar looked at them and said, "That's not right,"
What is crap?
like what? Like, I would love for Axel and Roxas to be out for each other and love one another. I would love that. What I don't need is any opposition within this story.
Xehanort just looks at Roxas and Axel and says, "Be white."
No, I can't imagine if Kingdom Hearts wanted to include any members of the LGBTQ community within their characters, and then you got like freaking Xemnas being like, do you accept us? And Xemnas, actually, no.
Dun 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 dun.
I don't need that in the game. Like I want the inclusion, but I don't think every story constitutes
like you don't need
like
to
this
have
realistic approach.
Yeah, again, it's missing the point. It's like criticize that from a game, from like a very realistic game, but
I think some
Fantasy
games
World-
do tackle that issue, and some of them do tackle it with flying colors, but I think that's because that's the purpose of
exactly
what that game is trying to be.
like if you go
Um,
in, if the creators went in with the idea, and you can, and you know when the creators are trying to just like give you something, they don't need to spoon feed you, but it's like you can picture, just as when you're playing the game, you can picture the message the creator's trying to create to convey. So like most of the time, unless it's like a very mindfuck of a game, but yeah, it's like not every game, not like if the game was made with the intention of being a critique, you will know that that game is being made with the purpose of being a critique. They will not hide it. They won't tell you like this game was being made by but they'll show you throughout the game. And it's fine that some games are goofy and are just meant to be escapes of reality, because that's another purpose that games have, is to be an escape from reality, for you to literally numb your mind and forget about whatever is happening outside. And it's also fine for games to be rooted in reality and make you think about what is going on outside. That is totally fine. And everything in between that spectrum is also fine. Not every game should be a racial critique, and you should expect racial tensions or even just or tensions against any underrepresented minority or any community. Not every game is obligated to present this. If they want to, that is great, and I applaud them for doing it. And like, I'm
not knocking it down if they don't.
For telling that story, and portraying it in a correct, tact, and culturally competent way. But they're not obligated to. Like, as in, like, games aren't obligated to always be about this.
Right. Yeah. I think you put it best, Dr. Mondo. I think you should praise the games that do entertain it, that do tackle the issue of, whether it's racial tensions or LGBT representation, what have you, anything in the whole diversity spectrum. But if a game that is just wants to do its own thing, it just wants to be fantastical in its own way, just let it.
I started like picturing like Mario, like freaking Mario and racial tension. Mario,
can Mario
Pac-Man and racial tensions? Like I don't know.
Goombas can't sit over here with us Koopas.
That could be. I don't. You never know.
What if the ghost chasing Pac-Man was a hate crime?
Wow. Sometimes you never know. You never
Damn
know.
Ghost.
Let
me not bring in real world into the term ghost.
Oh,
not.
Or synonyms for ghost.
Goodness.
No, but like we've been talking a lot about like the racial and like ethnic part of it, but we really haven't touched upon like a lot of like the LGBTQ. I would say like in gaming. Granted,
Right.
like touch upon like Horizon here a bit and Assassin's Creed. This like got a shit ton of like I couldn't play the DLC because I don't have a PS5.
Right.
So, and I'm not gonna get a PS5.
Damn it, Dr. Mondo. Get
I'm
a
sorry.
PS5.
You're a doctor.
I'm a resident doctor. I am not paid as like a real doctor.
He's
Yeah.
in his season 2 of Grey's Anatomy right now.
Almost season 3, starting next week.
There you go.
But no, but like I know like the backstory of like this entire scene and all that kind of stuff. And like it
Right.
got a ton of backlash, which was stupid.
Ugh,
Because
It's
people are
like
dumb.
It's silly.
because and it was like pretty touching the way it went. But yeah, like I think like games are starting to just to portray this, and it's I think like with LGBTQ, it's important because the LGBTQ community has always been present throughout history, regardless of
Yeah.
where you go. Because it's
Yeah.
like one thing, it's like for us to say, oh, I am going to the Nordic countries, the Vikings, like I would be hell bent. I would be very surprised if I saw like an Asian there or a black person there, like historically speaking, because of where we are. And you know, I could be wrong. I don't know, like we don't know like the
Yeah.
shadows of history. But the LGBTQ community, no matter where you go, no matter which culture you go, no matter which country you go, no matter which tribe you go in the history of mankind, they have always been there. Sometimes they have been shunned. Sometimes they've been like
I find
accepted
it.
Greek culture.
I
So
find
I
it
think it's important to
interesting.
have them always, you know, just present them because it's like they've
Right.
always been there.
I find it interesting with the LGBT community with what is the reaction when you showcase it in specific games. So for example, games in which LGBT is showcased a lot throughout that are typically universally praised. I wouldn't call them indie games, but like it's games that are not like your big blockbuster AAA games. So like for example, Celeste, Life is Strange. Oh my God, there was another one. Hades. Wait, no, what was it? Hades? Yeah, Hades.
Yeah.
A lot of those games universally praised for like their, you know, their gameplay, mechanics, all that stuff. But also they have a lot of LGBT rep in those type of games. And they're received well. Like rarely do I see people like blasting a game like Hades for like, oh my God, why did they have him be bisexual or something? I don't think Hades. I'm not even sure if any of the characters are like that in there, but they have representation in Hades. But then once you start getting into your AAA blockbusters, your games that are more advertised to like a bigger demographic, I think that's where you start to see a pushback. So like for example, Dr. Mondo with Forbidden West with the DLC, Last of Us Part 2 got some justified hate for other reasons, but some of the unjustified hate for Last of Us Part 2 was the fact that the LGBT representation was at the forefront of the game. That was some of the unjustified stuff. But I noticed it more with that. The bigger the game is, it almost seems as if, I guess, the haters for that type of stuff seem to flock to more as opposed to the smaller scale stuff.
Because smaller scale stuff, it appeals to a specific audience.
Smaller scale.
That like it then blows up, because it's good. Hades, an example, but it appeals to a smaller audience, while games like Forbidden West, games like Last of Us, those are blockbuster games. They are
more mainstream appeal
to everyone. We want everyone to buy our game, be it the farthest left wing to the farthest right wing. We want everyone to buy our games. So you're bound to have all those like unjustifiable criticisms and remarks going around, especially with the big games. Like it's unavoidable.
It's unfortunate, namely because one, and correct me if I'm wrong, speaking on Horizon again, I feel Aloy's sexuality wasn't that big of a plot point.
No,
It's not even.
it's not.
And
no,
in-
it's not. It's not an integral part of the story at all.
It's not an. It is part of her identity. It is not her main attribute to her identity. It is just
Right.
an afternote that says in the DLC, oh, by the way, guess what? And they show it. It's
And-
not the main
and-
point
Right.
of the game.
And it's like that's something that, because a lot of the tropes that happens with LGBTQ, and like correct me if I am wrong, and I would have loved to have Nino here for this.
Nino could have spoken on this.
I would have loved to have like his opinion with this. It's that they kind of make the sexuality be like the center point. It's like they try to focus the picture, and it's like, oh, sexuality. That's literally all they kind of focus on, and it's like, yes, it is an important part of like who the character is.
It is part of the character.
There
It is not
it's
the
part of the character, but it is
character.
not the character.
And it's not
And-
the gaming
game-
experience.
The gaming experience. And
Right.
I think this a lot, I would say like media in general, not only video games, like fall in this trap. Like movies, series, I've seen I think I've seen it. I can't say off the top of my head, like, oh, I'm gonna give you a specific example, and like that's bad on my part. But like I've seen it, and
What I've noticed is a lot of times in talking about Horizon, Last of Us, it comes when the sequel happens, when they develop the character more. And I'm with the developers when typically they say, we didn't just make them gay for this game. They were gay in the first game. We just didn't care to highlight that part of the character because that wasn't the story.
Or
I
like
would say
and, like,
that's
this
a
is
tactic
TV.
too, to like make it more appealing to a wider
Sure.
audience. It for the first game, because it's like,
Yes.
let's not touch on it yet because
Exactly.
we
Like,
want people to
that's
be
what I was gonna get at.
liking the game. But then in the sequel, they're like, all right, we got our fans, we got our fandom.
Exactly.
Now we get to get to the.
They're not
the
going to
good
care
stuff.
if we make them gay.
And like I think
Burn it down.
No, yeah, it's kind of like it to a certain degree. It's the very marketing part of it all. Like, yes, it's like they were gay the entire time. You just didn't say it, or is that you were afraid to say it because you were afraid that people were not going to buy your game if you said it. That's like
Which is
Right.
sad.
which is sad. Like, you know, that you kind of like have to limit yourself. And again, like I'm not saying like every character's sexuality has to be defined in every game. No, like the sexuality of a character is negligible in many games, and they're great games and whatever. But if like you're developing a character and you're developing the sexuality of that character, you shouldn't feel like, ideally, you shouldn't feel bad of putting in whatever sexual identity they have and developing the character so forth. And
Right.
making their sexual identity part of their identity as a character, but not being the overarching focus of the entire character and what completely defines the character.
Let me tell you, you mentioned that, Dr. Mondo, and I didn't want to get into it because, well, for me personally, it's because like I don't want to be spoiled on it. But Final Fantasy 16. Wow, we started with Final Fantasy 16 and we're coming back straight to it.
Full circle.
Full circle. More recently, because at the beginning we had the racial diversity in 16. More recently, now that the game has been out, people have been getting to a certain point in the game. I won't say where because I'm personally not at that point yet, so I can't really speak on it. But there is a character that comes out as gay in 16. It's a character that you're going to be interacting with a lot, and people didn't seem to mind about it at all. But there's been some criticism. I won't say from which specific news source. You could probably figure it out on your own, but this news source was basically criticizing the fact about this gay character in a set, because I didn't read the article, because I didn't want to spoil myself, but from the gist of what I understood, from what little information I could pull from it, to avoid spoilers, is that they were upset that this character's sexual identity was not at the forefront of their identity, to the point where, for example, instead of it being like the main element to their character, they wanted it, it was more or less like an afterthought. It's just, oh, by the way, this character is gay. Did you know that? Anyways, there's a war going on over here. We should probably focus on that war because people are dying and there's fantastical elements of like monsters and demons being summoned. And I find that silly because, again, we touched on it earlier too. Sometimes in the world of like a fantasy like this, there are bigger things going on than just putting these stereotypes of how a person should act if they're like a certain demographic, if they're a certain minority, if they're a certain sexuality, because it's like, why limit yourself to such generic stereotypes? I find it silly. I find it very silly.
I think it's, again, I really wish Nino was here. For this
I'm
part.
sure Nino would have a lot to say right now.
Yeah, like I think it is refreshing sometimes. Like, and I'm going to use kind of like not a video game, but a movie. And we touched on this pod, Strange World. Like Strange World.
Oh, right.
His kid, it's like he's gay, and it's not. And that's it. Great. He's gay.
It's part of his identity. It's not it's not the defining part of his identity.
And it's not like the overarching theme of the movie. And it's like, it's refreshing to see, because it's like you go around and like, oh, you're gay. Fine. Like, live and let live. It's like, live your life. Like, good for you. You're happy. Good. It doesn't need to be this suffering and all this stuff that we always see, at least here. And a lot of, like, when they present, oh, he's a gay character, oh my God. And they make it the full focus, instead of just saying like, hey, it's totally fine. You're gay. Let's continue on. Like, there's other things happening. But that's how I see it. But yeah.
Let me say, I think there's a double-edged sword here.
Yeah.
Specifically when you mention the Final Fantasy 16 character, because you said it was revealed at the end.
Not at the end. It's just a character that you know of from the beginning. You just know a little bit about them. You get to a certain point in the game. I don't know in what context it's revealed, but the character is revealed to be gay. And it's just, from what I understand of the minor criticism towards it, is that, for lack of better words, because this is what I understood from what people were saying, they weren't gay enough, if that makes sense. And I find that problematic.
Yeah,
because it's like I don't know what more you wanted the person to the character. I'm not sure what more you wanted from them.
No, and not only that, it's like, I think, and that's like, I'm not gonna say dangerous, but it's like, it's a little bit problematic.
I feel like it creates stereotypes.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That's what I was gonna get at.
Let me say this, and I'm trying to speak of the sentiments not of Nino but of Apex. It doesn't have to be a stereotype. Yeah, stereotype would be the wrong way to go. Like, obviously, like, a gay character doesn't need to be uber flamboyant, or if it's a girl, doesn't need to be overtly masculine.
Agreed.
You know, those are stereotypes. However, from my understanding of conversations with, like, specifically Apex, that is so much part of his identity, you know, it should play a part into the characterization of the character. That does not mean that it needs to be the focal point of the character, nor does it mean it doesn't need to be, like, you know, that is the character. They're gay. That's it. You know. And I wish I had a character I could cite from other games. I don't. I actually just had a list up.
I know of some that. Well, do you mean like that are more
just characters who are kind of who I guess in more relatively in the context of gaming, they're more open. But you know, again, their sexual orientation is not their definitive characteristic, you know. But again, I can't think of any. I lost my list. I just had it.
Yeah, I think it's important to just, you know, kind of represent the entire spectrum of that.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna like, sure, like you can be uber flamboyant, you can be
right,
like a regular person that no one would suspect it, and you know that's it's like they again spectrum. Everything is a spectrum, and
right.
Kind of just sticking to one of them. They like the uber flamboyant guy or the uber masculine girl. That they're definitely gay. Like that, it's like that's a stereotype.
That's a stereotype.
The same way you put like Barrett in Final Fantasy game is the loudest character, is the only guy with guns, blah 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 blah. Like again, stereotypes. Your fault. And I think it's cool for you. Sure, like you can put like the uber flamboyant guy as gay. That's totally fine. But like in another game, you can put. He doesn't need to be uber flamboyant. He can have some mannerisms and all that, but that's fine. And he's gay. And you can play around with that entire spectrum. People come in all shapes and sizes.
Right, yeah.
And flavors. It's like, and then sexual identities and sexual orientations. It's like we're like we really are a rainbow. And you have a shit ton of colors to play around with this rainbow. You don't need to stick with just one.
It's a spectrum. It's a slider. You slide it any way.
Yeah.
Right.
I think pick 2 or 3 colors.
And I think, you know, as far as gaming goes, especially where we are now in like the 2020s, what we wish to see represented in gaming is very similar to what we wish to see in cinema and TV, namely because gaming has now become such a cinematic experience that
more mainstream.
Correct. So for them to, you know, represent every spectrum of the human race is very much more rewarding than to, you know, just be playing it safe as most games tend to do. We want this. We want the layers.
No,
we want the layers.
A lot of people play video games to escape the world we live in. And I think it's important for like gaming is an escape.
Yes.
And sometimes we want that escape to be a better world than what we see our world to be, you know?
Correct.
And
a lot of games,
it's important that sometimes we give people the world they think the world should be.
Right. Absolutely. Right. Versus a identical reflection.
Yeah.
Like
I don't play a game just like, sure, sometimes there is a certain beauty in that, but gaming is an escape. And you know, people sometimes deserve that little piece of utopia that they want the world to be, where, you know,
give me my peace.
Yeah, like a world where they don't feel that, you know, they have to hide who they are and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
You know, that's part. I would say maybe that's what makes gaming unique when it comes to other pieces of media, because in the cinema, sure, you can kind of lose yourself in the cinema, but you know, you're not in the movie, you're not in the series, you're not in the painting.
Gaming, you take it
has that
literally.
Interactivity.
You are the one that has control. You are that character.
Right.
You are inhabiting that world. So why
And you
not?
navigate it however you choose.
And like you, obviously some games more than others. Like you
Oh,
kind of
yes, I guess.
you kind of choose you kind of choose
Not
your-
every game's Tears of the Kingdom.
Not
No,
every
that-
game you can swing around New
no,
York.
it's like and you choose your own destiny in that game.
Right.
And
Right,
I
right.
think it's important really to have that in mind when you're making a game.
Sims.
And
The Sims. Exactly. But goodness me, I think we covered practically everything we wanted to talk on regarding diversity in gaming. Any final thoughts in general? How about this? Tell me, and this is more or less a homework for Grandmaster Hoop so he could stop this nonsense. Now the lesson has been learned. What diverse game are you now going to play after attending this pod?
I mean, I should go finish Forbidden West.
Okay. Wow.
So I should go finish that. You know, we didn't really talk about it, but
Mhm.
you know, there's been way more female protagonists than there's ever been in gaming. So I need to go play those games. I'm glad I play Horizon.
Your Tomb
I
Raiders?
need to go play, huh?
Your Tomb Raiders?
Yeah. And that's something we also didn't talk about too. Kind of Lara Croft, iconic as she is, she definitely perpetuated for a time the over sexualization of
Yeah.
women characters.
Oh, yes, for sure.
But we have come a long way since
We've
Lara
come a
Croft.
long
Like
way.
even Lara Croft has come a long way since Lara Croft.
yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, I'm just gonna keep what is it? Widening my horizon when it comes to
Broaden
video
your
games.
horizons.
Yeah, whatever.
Yes.
So I gotta go find some more games. I'm still running through Tears of the Kingdom, which I said, Legend of Zelda has been doing a great job. Maybe I'll just give the shout out to Nintendo too. Fire Emblem games do a good job as well, with representation.
Oh, yeah. Fire Emblem does a pretty
and-
good job.
Yeah, like a lot with freedom of choice in a lot of the Fire Emblem games. So
Right.
yeah, maybe I'll tackle those too. But yeah, you know, I think gaming, I think TV and film is like all the way over here, right? And gaming is slowly but surely coming. So we just gotta keep at it. Yeah.
It's getting there. God, I I don't know. I play too many. Street Fighter 6. There's my next one. That's my, because there's a lot of speculation with certain characters in there. Zangief is suspected to be part of the community.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, for a long
psh,
time. You know
I did not know
Zangief,
that.
right?
Yeah.
I am Russian
know.
wrestler.
I mostly know him from Wreck-It Ralph. But yes,
Just because you are
I-
a bad guy does not mean you're a bad guy.
correct. Yes. I know Zangief. Yes.
Okay. Dr. Mondo.
Oh, I don't know because I'm not much of a gamer to be honest.
Damn, I would suspect otherwise. You play Horizon. You play God. of
I'm
War,
like very
He's like
picky.
me.
Elden Ring.
Now, I'm very picky as to like which games I buy because
Oh,
I'm
fair
cheap.
enough.
So like I don't know which one I'll pick, to be honest.
That's fair. Grandmaster Hoop, I expect more from.
What do you mean? Oh my gosh, whatever. Enough. I am like Dr.
Like,
Mondo.
maybe-
I'm very selective.
Like maybe because I don't have a Switch though. Like Hades.
or rather, which
or
game would
something
you
like that.
here? A better idea. Which one would you like to play? Not which one you would go to next because you don't have the system, but which one would you like to get into?
Which
You said
game?
Hades, right?
I think Hades.
Hades, yep.
Okay.
I think
Hades
Hades
is
is
a good
one that,
one.
like I would like to play it.
Oh, there's two, Hades and Hades 2. They're both out.
I
Hades 2 is out?
Oh God, don't quote me.
The spread of misinformation.
cite your source.
Where's your source? It is not out. How dare you?
Did I make that up?
Yes. With
Grand-
a
Grand-
what
Grandmaster-
else is new?
Grandmaster Hoop.
Wait
Taken
a
out his
minute.
ass,
It's a thing. It's a thing. It exists. but
July
it-
6th, 2023.
Oh,
go.
okay. All right. Sorry. Unscheduled releases. All right. Sorry.
Goodness.
My bad.
But I think that about covers it, folks. We've covered mostly everything regarding the diversity spectrum in gaming, all the way from its origins to what we want to see in future games to, what games should tackle it from different perspectives. What companies are obligated to do it versus ones that really just want to create a fantasy world. Let us know what you think in the comments below. What is your favorite game that actually hosts some level of diversity in it? And what are your thoughts overall on what was said on the pod? Let us know what you think, whether you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at the Yonko Table. Give us a like, give us a shout out. Here is how we're going to end things. Now, you got to quote a line from whatever diverse game you played before. So, I got, let's see here. I'm going to steal yours, Grandmaster.
Sure.
Cloud!
Wow.
We got to destroy the Mako reactor!
Whoa. What a deep cut quote.
Ooh. All right.
Dr. Mondo can go next.
I will not be captive to another man's gaudy design. Eivor, Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Ooh, damn. Look at that.
I was gonna use an Assassin's Creed 1 too.
Oh, you can't do franchise. Okay, you gotta dig. Come
Oh,
on.
but it was a cool one. You don't want to hear it?
Fine.
Wait,
It's not Valhalla, is it? It's not.
It's not Valhalla.
Fine,
You gotta
go
guess
ahead.
the character. You gotta guess the character. Ready?
Okay.
Okay.
Wait. Before you do it or after you do it?
No, after I do it.
Okay, go ahead.
I assure you, women provide little distraction.
Ezio.
Buy it?
No. He's talking to Ezio.
Wait, who? Wait, say it again.
I assure you, my friend, women provide little distraction.
If he's talking to Ezio.
I do not know. Mario.
Da Vinci?
Da Vinci.
Oh my, that doesn't count.
Yeah.
Oh wow, Da
Da
Vinci doesn't count.
Da Vinci is Ezio's M in that game.
Right, and
His
he's gay.
Q.
He's on this list.
Wait, sorry, Q. Wow, thank you.
Sorry,
Yes.
Q. Yes.
Q, it's Q.
Fine, we'll take it. We'll take
Fine.
it.
Another one. Fine.
Okay. No. I get what you mean now. I get what you mean by the implications. I
yes.
was trying to figure out, like, I don't get it. What
All
he's
right, fine.
saying.
I got one.
he's
I got
hinting
one.
at it. So yes, that does count.
All right, I got a better one. Ready? Who cares? Nobody would miss me anyways. That's
Oh.
not true. I would.
Fine, you can have it.